Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. Dylan here. We have a major bombshell today from Senator Rand Paul. He just came out and exposed the truth about the rhinos and about the Democrats, and he's also now teaming up with Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy in supporting raising the debt ceiling, but with this one stipulation. And he's also dropping an absolute bombshell on the Biden administration and just on the left for their overspending bullcrap. But first, he went after hard about Hillary Clinton and Marco Rubio, so let's tune in.
How do you view Hillary Clinton in terms of her foreign policy views?
I see her as a neoconservative. I see her.
Neoconservative.
I see her and Rubio as being the same person. They both want a no-fly zone. They both have supported activity in Libya, the war in Libya that toppled Gaddafi, an intervention that made us less safe. They both have supported pouring arms into the Syrian civil war, a mistake that I think allowed ISIS to grow stronger. And They both have supported the Iraq war. So, I mean, what's the difference?
So Hillary Clinton and Marco Rubio are the same person. How do you define a neoconservative?
Somebody a lot of times who believes in big government, both domestically and internationally. And so many of the big neoconservatives came out of a movement. They were Democrats mostly. There were some Marxists and socialists, but there were people who ultimately came to believe that we needed a big government involved internationally as well. So a neoconservative often is a big government person for domestic policy and a big government person for internationalism, foreign war.
How do you?
That's pretty crazy, honestly. And him saying that Marco Rubio, similar to Hillary Clinton, not only similar, but also being the same person. Because remember, Trump chose Marco Rubio. What did he choose him to be again? Trump's pick for Secretary of State. A lot of people were pissed at Trump for doing this because, again, you know, people like Rand Paul, they view Marco Rubio as a neocon, somebody who wants to get us involved in foreign wars, similar to Hillary Clinton. Now, Rand Paul actually just dropped an absolute bombshell on Fox News. Let's tune in.
Joining me now with the road ahead is Kentucky Senator Rand Paul, ranking member of the Senate Homeland Security Committee. Senator, it's great to see you this morning. Thank you so much for being here.
Good morning.
Where are you on this debate? What about 2 reconciliation packages versus 1? And would you support putting raising the debt ceiling in the first one?
You know, I think 2 versus 1 is not a deal killer either way for me. I think we need to make sure the tax cuts become permanent is the most important. And also important is to make sure we cut spending. We have an annual deficit of $2 trillion, a total debt of $36 trillion. So we have to do something on the spending front, and we have to make the tax cuts permanent. That's a big job. Whether it's 1 or 2 doesn't matter so much to me. On the debt ceiling, I'm one of the conservatives, who's never voted to raise the debt ceiling. But there are circumstances in which I would, and I've put those forward before. I have a plan to balance the budget in 5 years. If we had a speaker with a spine who put forward a budget and a plan to cut spending over a 5-year period to balance the budget, I'll vote to raise the debt ceiling because you still have to add debt during that 5 years. What happens typically, and this is where President Trump is right, since conservatives don't vote for it, the liberals rule the day and they say, we'll vote for the debt ceiling, but only if you spend more and create more debt. So it backfires. But there's another alternative. Rather than getting rid of the debt ceiling, you get a speaker with a spine who puts forward a spending plan that actually encourages conservatives like myself and some members of the Freedom Caucus to join on, and we will support raising the debt ceiling, but only if you reform government. You have to reform government. This is probably the number one problem affecting the future of our country is this $36 trillion debt, and we have to do something about it. So for me, let's put forward something that cuts spending and then see if we can get all the conservatives on board where you don't need Democrat votes at all.
Rand Paul was one of the only Republican senators who refused to endorse Donald Trump. Here's Rand Paul on why he still wouldn't endorse Trump. Let's tune into this.
To squash any fears about his age in a new political ad for battleground states.
I know I'm not a young man, but I know how to do this job. When you get knocked down, you get back up.
Senator Rand Paul has been sounding the alarm on the president's mental acuity for months, and he joins us now. Senator, good morning. Great to see you. So just Team Biden is trying to argue that the president is fit for the job, that he may be older, but what we saw last Thursday night was not normal. Definitely not. What is your take on watching the president, given your observations over the past couple of months?
You know, my concern is that weakness invites tragedy. You know, with the evacuation in Afghanistan, and this is, a year or two ago now, the weakness of it, retreating from a commercial airport instead of retreating if we were going to leave from the Air Force Base at Bagram, which would have been a much more sound military strategy. In that weakness, 13 soldiers died. But then the reaction also comes from a point of weakness and perhaps related to senility, is that he overreacts. And so he says, well, we must do something, and I must show that I'm not weak. And so there's an overreaction, and they killed an aid worker and several children with a drone because we must do something. The world thinks I'm weak. Americans think I'm weak. They think I'm ineffectual, so I have to do more. So really the problem with weakness often isn't inaction, it's overaction and response. But it also sends a signal to the world that America doesn't know what it's doing. Mm-hmm. And, we saw the warnings from Khomeini recently from the Ayatollah saying something's going to happen somewhere around the world at one of your bases. And I take that at face value. And I think we have to be prepared. But I think we have to be cognizant that weakness leads to overreaction, could lead to something much worse.
Yeah, the country is facing big issues, big threats. The New York Times puts it this way. They said the image of the nation has become some combination of unhinged and doddering, especially striking at a time when the U.S. is supposed to be leading the fight against a rising alliance of autocracies that include...
Let's see what he had to say about endorsing Trump.
I have told them...
Full endorsement, whether it's domestic or foreign policy. Senator, you've been a supporter of President Trump. The RNC convention is in about 2 weeks' time in Milwaukee. Are you going to give him your full endorsement?
I have told them I'm persuadable, but I'm going to need a little bit more of a conversation. If they're willing to have the conversation, I'm open to the discussion.
On what issue specifically?
Well, the debt. I mean, there was about $8 trillion worth of debt added under the Trump administration. There will be about $8 trillion added under the Biden administration. I'm a deficit hawk. I ran for Congress because we have so much debt added. And so we have to do a better job on draining the swamp. The FDA under Trump was...
But didn't he just say now he's in favor of raising the debt ceiling? I'm confused with Rand Paul, guys. Do you guys understand him? I mean, I do know that he did go hard after Mike Johnson. He said, I noted last year that I would be roasting the next speaker and the gang who put him in power by this Festivus. As usual, I am right. I want to be the first to congratulate former Speaker Johnson, who will be gone before DC gets warm again.
Annual Festivus report, also known as his list of personal grievances against many people, Republicans and Democrats. Paul writes, I noted last year that I would be roasting the next speaker and the gang who put him in power by this Festivus. As usual, I am right. I want to be the first to congratulate former Speaker Johnson, who will be gone before D.C. gets warm again.
Former. So we're probably going to have a new speaker soon, guys.
And Paul joined Maria on Sunday Morning Futures, explaining why he's lost confidence in Johnson. Listen to this.
Senator, are you saying you'll support Mike Johnson, or you're not supporting Mike Johnson? Do you have somebody else in mind that you want to see as speaker?
I think it's good to mix it up and let them know we are not happy with the job they're doing. But really, someone just has to... People at home say, well, why don't we control the power of the purse? We elected Republicans. Why don't we have the power of the purse? And people say, well, the Democrats control the Senate. So I say, well, what does that mean? We have 50% of the power of the purse. No, I think we exercise 0 because they're so afraid of shutdown, so afraid of Democrats. The Democrats put forward an exploding budget, and somehow you come to a compromise. Instead, Republicans in the House, the Speaker, give up in advance, give the Democrats everything they want.
Well, Congressman.
Very interesting. I wonder if he will end up, getting ousted. Rand Paul also roasted Canada. He destroyed Justin Trudeau. Let's tune in.
If anyone doubts that emergency powers can be abused, just look to Canada. As Jean Healy of Cato Institute wrote, America's neighbor to the north offers a cautionary tale about the risks that broad emergency powers could be turned inward against political dissent. In early 2022, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau faced a mass protest against COVID-19 restrictions, in which Canadian truckers obstructed key border crossings and effectively shut down the capital city with their rigs. Instead of simply clearing out protesters and punishing them via conventional legal means, Trudeau invoked emergency powers broad enough to permit the financial unpersoning of anyone participating in the protest. He went to their bank accounts and took their money.
Yeah, they did gnarly debanking in Canada. That's exactly what we don't want here in America. That's why I'm a little, cognizant of Trump making Canada a state and making Trudeau the governor because of the whole debanking stuff. I just think the debanking stuff is absolutely ridiculous. We have a lot more to cover with Rand Paul, but we're running out of time. So let me know your thoughts down below with Rand Paul. Thanks for watching. Talk soon. Bye now.